Hello, this is Adrienne with Jaskiran Astrology, and I'm here to talk about this new moon in Libra that we are going to be experiencing today, really in about an hour. The moon will be exact. Um, and it's going to be an intense moon. Couple reasons. Um, One, because we're dealing with relationships, and two, because the moon it's going to be at the anaretic degree later on today, and then tomorrow the sun will also be there. And so the anaretic degree of any sign is the most intense. It's like we're getting ready to shift signs. We want to complete what's happening. And so there's like this energy to really push the completion. Let's go ahead and bring up our moon. All right, here is the chart for today. And as you can see, we have the sun and the moon at 28 degrees of Libra. And what I called this moon report on my Substack account was the beginning steps towards peace. And I will get into that. I do want to, before we get into that, I want to talk about these two big changes that have happened. Let's go with Pluto first. Pluto became direct a little more than a week ago. And it went retrograde. I think it's really interesting because it went retrograde while the sun was in Taurus. And as I've been contemplating this moon and what it really means for us, it was like the sun was in Taurus, it was conjunct Uranus and Mercury. So there's this energy to break free from old values, old mindsets, and the way that we self-actualize those. And in the sign of Taurus, we're talking about the self-value, the values that we carry, but also the values that we have for ourselves, Taurus. And so I think it's really interesting that as we move, as we have moved direct, the sun will be moving into Scorpio, which is the opposite side. So we're going to be really completing that energy. So that was one of the changes. The second change was that right after the full moon in Aries 2 weeks ago, Venus moved into Libra. And Venus in Libra is about learning to relate to ourselves, Taurus, and others, Libra, differently. It's like a new, we began a new cycle of that as Venus moved in. Now Venus is almost into the second decan, which is Aquarius, where we're going to be breaking free from this way that we have been relating in the past. And as you can see, when the moon and the sun move into the 29th degree, Venus will also move into the second decan, and we will really be breaking free from this old way of being, learning to relate to ourselves and others differently. So let's get to the sun and moon. So because we're going to be interacting with the external world differently, really it's related to what's happened in the past. We had this eclipse at the last degree of Virgo. And what was happening there was this South Node is in Virgo. We had the eclipse there at the 29th degree. So that's that anaretic degree, a very intense push, and it was an eclipse to push us away from this energy of hierarchy where I are either feeling inferior or superior to others. Um, and this is part of the past paradigm. And I think it's really interesting that since then we've had this whole no kings, where people all over the world, thousands, millions of people gathered to the streets to really show this support of we don't need the hierarchy anymore. And so it's no mistake that after that we move into we have the full moon in Aries, and that was one of the things that shifted because of this. We had two moons in the sign of Virgo. We had the new moon at 0 degrees and then another new moon. And what that did was switch the order of the moons from new moon to full moon, new moon, full moon. Now the full moon came first. And I'm contemplating why that happens. And I think what it does is show us, because the full moon was in Aries, it shows us the relationship that we have, self and other, and then we have the opportunity to change that so we can see what we're about to change before we go through the period of changing it. It's almost like it's like an intense energy that helps us to make the shift, because we can see where the issues are before the changes happen. Um, yeah, so it allows us to create a change. So, like I said, Venus has moved into Libra, and Venus tomorrow will be at the second decan. The second decan of Libra is Aquarius, where we will be breaking free from this relationship dynamics, really valuing ourselves differently. And this energy, because in the Libra archetype, what has happened in the past is because of this hierarchical system, we've felt that we always defer to the other first. We deferred to our teachers, our bosses, sometimes our friends, our partners, this energy. And then very oftentimes it led to us not actually meeting our own needs, that we meet the needs of others first. And this shift that's happening is like when you take an airplane ride and they tell you you put your own mask on first and then you can help somebody else. This is that energy. We're learning to get our own needs met first. Um, Meeting our needs, bringing them into the conversation so that they can be part of the balance that's being made. The next thing that I want to talk about is this Mercury and Mars conjunct in Scorpio. They were exact yesterday or the day before, and now they were exact at I think 19 degrees, 18 degrees. But now Mercury has moved slightly ahead so that we have really begun a new cycle between these two signs. And it's about the focus, our mindset being focused on these deep emotional issues. And so while we are changing the way we've related, we have these issues within us that cause us to act in the way that we have. And these are unconscious. We've been doing this for many, many generations, and it's so we don't even know why we act this way. It's just been conditioned and passed down for a very long time. And the need to focus on these energies and to bring them to the surface so that they can be communicated and shared and worked on, and then they lose their hold on us. Mars being um, related to Pluto, it's like the conscious action. We consciously are doing things, but we don't actually know why we do them. And so this Mars Mercury conjunction is bringing this energy um, and bringing this our focus and our attention to these hidden issues to bring them to the surface so that we can heal them. And Mars and Mercury are in the third decan of Scorpio, which is Cancer. And in Cancer, we're learning to build an inner sense of security. Now, if we're changing the way we relate to the external world, we have to be more secure within ourselves. So bringing up these old issues and things that have been pushed down and kept away, usually society, or, we've been told we shouldn't do something, or whatever it is that's been, kept these behaviors submerged, yet they run under the current they just run subconsciously. We actually can't get rid of them. And so bringing them to the surface where we can see them allows us to make a conscious change. So that's the conjunction there. I do want to step back because I'm forgetting a really important part here, is that this moon is intense. And I said earlier that it was a couple of reasons. Once, it's almost at the anaretic degree. The second is that there is a yod formation here between the Neptune Saturn conjunction and Uranus. And so the lunation is the focus of the intensity right now. This is where the change is going to be made. And remember, I said that Uranus was conjunct the Sun and Mercury in Taurus when Pluto went retrograde. Now Uranus is retrograde in Gemini, and Uranus retrograde is this energy to break free from patterns from a mindset, a way that we have seen the world, a way that we have communicated. And so there is this blind spot that we have a pattern that we're trying to break free from, a way of communicating, a way of seeing the world, is causing this blind spot. And both blind spots, they're going to take in, they require us to do this very inner focus, inner analysis to determine why. It's a blind spot. We don't know why we're having these crises that happen in our relationships, but when we internalize it and understand why, we can make an adjustment either within ourselves or externally. And one of the things about the Libra archetype is that we tend to project our own needs, Taurus, onto others if we can't fulfill them within ourselves. And so this energy of projection over time becomes expectation. And we may have these expectations that happen in our relationship. And this is the kind of energy that is to be broken apart. The second part is this personal responsibility. We have to be able to take personal responsibility for our own actions, for the way that we feel on the inside. All of this is what Saturn in Pisces is working on. We're accelerating the journey to take responsibility for ourselves and to create the kind of world, crystallize the kind of world that we want to see, how we want to be within the world. And while Neptune is also dissolving the way that we have been, and soon Neptune will be moving retrograde into, I think tomorrow, it will move back into Pisces, and both Saturn and Neptune will be in Pisces until February 20th, 2026, when they will both come back in at the 0 point of Aries, where I believe it'll be just a new shift in reality. The third decan of Pisces, we'll have the first decan is Pisces, the second decan is Cancer, the third decan is Scorpio. So this is where we're going to be empowering ourselves. We're going to be digging up and taking responsibility for these submerged energies, also doing it with just loving care. When Neptune moves into Pisces, its own sign, there's this energy of dissolving everything that has come before it. And it's a sense of peace and release and forgiveness for the way we've been, and acceptance for who we are. And this will go inwardly and outwardly, changing the way that we relate to ourselves and to others. So I wanted to point out that particular intensity. The other thing, while we're talking about the yod, is we have this we call Chiron, the boomerang point. Here, let me put the yod back up there, actually, because it'll be easy to see. The boomerang point is like a pressure release valve. And basically what it's saying is these internal and external adjustments that we have to make to clear up our relationships. The release valve is essentially to heal the wound that has prevented us from showing up as our true self. That is the goal. We want to peel off the layers of conditioning until we can show up as our true selves. Chiron is in the third decan of Aries, which is Sagittarius, which is about the truth of who we are. And I like to say it is the truth that will set us free. And so this is the yod. Let me bring you back to the chart. We have a couple of interesting configurations. We'll get into those here in a moment. So I found that there were three significant energies happening in this chart. While there isn't any planet in Taurus, Venus is really important in this chart. And Venus here is relating to the Taurian archetype because we have in the past projected our needs onto others, and now we're going to be taking responsibility for our own needs. We're going to be inserting ourselves into our relationships differently in a more balanced way. And so that's where the Taurus archetype. Libra, of course, we have Venus and the lunation are in Libra. So this is the energy of relating to the external world. That is going to change. And then the Scorpio archetype, as I pointed out, the Sun and Neptune will be in the Scorpio archetype tomorrow. This not the Sun, sorry, Saturn. And Saturn is there right now. And it's also trine to this Mars and Mercury energy. So it's helping it out. It's helping this energy um, be placed into the world so that it can be seen on a social level. So Pluto, as I've said many times, it is the bottom line for evolution for each of us individually and for the collective. And in the sign of Aquarius and now moving forward, we are on the fast track for breaking free from our conditioning. And what we've been working on are our own values, and that is going to change the way we relate to ourselves and relate to others. The energy of hierarchy is over. We are all equals. We just have to learn how to live in that way. And that is what this moon energy is working for us. We have stuff that's still hidden down beneath the surface. And these layers of, trauma, things that we haven't been able to bring out into the light because it has not been accepted by our culture, by our families, whatever um, energy has caused us to keep them down. And now they've been running under the surface. These things will be brought up. We can start to talk about them and, yeah, begin to heal them. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about with this Libra archetype is the way that the Libra archetype has been working in the past. And that has to do with this codependency. What codependency is when somebody is taking charge, controlling the relationship that doesn't allow both sides of the equation to be balanced. Therefore, somebody's needs aren't being met. Independency, independence is the Taurian archetype. Codependency can be the Libra, an unbalanced Libra archetype. Independence is the Taurian archetype. This is where we're self-reliant, we're able to meet our own needs, we can create the reality that we want to create. Interdependence is where we're all headed. And this links to the Scorpio archetype in that a very healthy union in relationship is when you have two people that are independent and able to meet their own needs, and then they come together. And what that does is create this extremely powerful unit where it's equal and balanced. And this is the goal. This is the goal of the future, to align ourselves with this healthy scorpionic energy where we merge together with others and in a balanced way to help everybody achieve their goals on an independent level and on the collective level. So in this energy of Libra, we are learning to create equality, and equality leads to justice, and justice to peace. And so this is why I've decided to call this moon report the beginning steps toward peace. And we have some work to do, and it'll take some time. But at the moment, some things will start to come to the surface that we can look at. It's really important that we can communicate them to another person, write them down in the journal, get it out, so that we can see it and that we can begin to work on it. Um, yeah, I didn't mention Jupiter up here at the top of the chart. Let's talk about Jupiter. Jupiter has been in Cancer for a while, and Jupiter is about expanding our inner world, our inner sense of self. And so you can see where it kind of links to this energy of expanding who we are on an individual level, and how you can see Jupiter is part of this giant, we'll call it a cardinal square, although Pluto is out of bounds, out of sign right now, just slightly. It's still a grand square. And this in cardinal signs represents a change, and we are all experiencing a shift. We're going to shift in the way that we relate. We're going to step into our true selves. This requires us to expand who we are on the inside. So yeah, I think that this is a really important moon. And what I like to do with a new moon is to take a piece of paper and write down what I would like to create for myself, the changes that I'd like to make within a relationship, and how I'm dealing with the outer world. I just begin to bring some of this dark, submerged stuff up to the surface so that I can see what it is and begin to write it down. And then I like to burn it. Burning it creates a change. It's like it's the Scorpio archetype. It's this death and rebirth. Like we've heard of the rising of the phoenix. The phoenix comes out of the ashes. And so to begin this new cycle, we want to bring up some of the stuff that has been under the surface. And the way that you reach those things under the surface is sit in a quiet place, a little meditation, close your eyes, maybe burn a candle. As you can see behind me, I have a candle burning. And then write some things down that you'd like to see change in your life, change in your relationships. And when you're finished, burn them. And then watch how things change over the next couple of weeks. So that is all I have to say about this moon, and I hope this was helpful. If it doesn't resonate, just leave it behind. And if it does, I hope that it helps you to see what's happening. I'm going to link my moon report on Substack in the comments below, and I'll also link my website if anybody's interested in seeing how this moon is aligning in their own personal birth chart. Please reach out to me. I'd be happy to take a look and help to guide you through whatever is happening through your life. So I want to thank you all for listening, and I wish you all a happy new moon in Libra.